Okay, Ashley Szymaszek. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Super close. Amazing.
Amazing. Oh my God. Two S's and two Z's and a Y.
I know. I
That's tough.
know. I'm still learning it. Like it's my married name and I still have to spell it out as I'm signing it. So it's not an easy one.
It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
Um, Ashley, thanks a lot for doing this. You are a credit repair specialist with My Credit Guy. You are My Credit Gal.
Yes.
Um, Walk me through your process. So I have a client who has credit issues. We send them to you. What's the next step? What do you do?
Yes. So whenever you send a client over to us, we always start with a free review of their credit report. So this really gives us an opportunity to see if that client is a good fit for our program based on what's on their credit report. So we're typically looking for things like collections, charge-offs, inaccurate information that maybe the client doesn't agree with or doesn't really know about. Can be things that are old that don't really belong on that credit report anymore. And if they have those types of things, they're typically a good fit for our program. But if we look at a credit report and a client doesn't actually need our services, but maybe just needs a little bit of advice or guidance on the steps that they can take, we give them that advice and we hand them back to you. Not everybody is a good fit for our program. So we're really honest when we do run into clients that, you know what, pay down these few credit cards and you'll be good to go. But if a client is a good fit, we'll go over the game plan with a timeline and cost. And then it's really up to that client if they want to move forward and enroll in our services. If they do choose to move forward, they're going to get assigned a dedicated credit coach from our team. And that's their go to person the entire time that they're with us. They're going to walk them through the whole process, really like hold their hand to guide them in the right direction to make sure that the money that they're spending or the things that we're going after make sense. Because our goal is to get clients in and out of our program as quickly as possible so they can move on to that next step, purchasing a home. We know how important timeline is when you're trying to get a home. So that's really what our process is focused on, is making sure that we leave the things alone that aren't really impacting the score. Maybe they're a little bit annoying, but we're going to leave them there and focus on the things that are impacting the score the most. And that's why our process is so much quicker than typical credit repair. It's really built to get a client back to the closing table.
Now, speaking of the actual credit score, there's so many different ways that a client can obtain their own score, right?
Yeah.
There are services like a Credit Karma. They can go through their own credit card company. We have to run the actual credit report too, and all these different services could yield a different score.
Yes.
Why is that? Why are the scores so varied between the various services?
This is a super common question, and it's never really explained to anybody why your credit score is different.
That's why we're doing this.
Yes, yes, exactly. So the thing is that there are different algorithms for your score being pulled. So when you go to Credit Karma, and Credit Karma is one of the worst, I don't recommend it. I know it's definitely an easy way to keep an eye on things that may pop up, but it's really not giving you an accurate score. Credit Karma, anything that consumers have access to is called your consumer score. So I always like to explain it that your consumer score is, let's say you're applying for like $1,000 loan or a $2,000 loan. The algorithm is much less harsh because it's such a small amount. When you go to your loan officer, like your clients come to you, you're approving them for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's a much more strict algorithm, and that's why there's differences in scores. And that's where people may hear of hard pull and soft pull. Soft pull is where you go onto your credit monitor and you check your score. It doesn't show up as an inquiry on your credit report, and it doesn't cost you any points. When you pull a credit report, that's a hard pull. You're pulling to, like I said, qualify them for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that shows up as an inquiry. Now, the nice thing about getting your credit pulled for a mortgage is you do have time to shop around. So if you go to one credit or one mortgage company and they pull it and they qualify you, you have typically like 30 to 35 days to shop around, where another company can pull your score, but it's not going to cost you any points and it's not going to show up as another inquiry. So it's really important to keep in mind. And you do have that time to shop around. But it is different. So like if a credit card company you apply, they pull it, that's different than a mortgage pull. That's why it's so important when you're trying to get qualified for a home. Don't go and apply for like 30 credit cards, because you're going to get a bunch of different inquiries on your report. What I will say, the best credit monitoring system that you can sign up for, it's a little bit pricier, but it's called My FICO. That is about the closest you're going to get to an actual mortgage score from a consumer site. So it's typically like $40 to $50, but if you're really trying to figure out where your score is, if you're trying to get qualified, that's the one that I recommend.
I think you just answered this question also, but pulling your credit multiple times is another question that we get asked often.
Yep.
But it sounds like if your credit's pulled for the same reason multiple times within a 30 to 45 day time frame, that's not going to impact your score.
Correct.
But if it's run by multiple institutions for different reasons, that could have an impact. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. That's why you want to be very careful when you have your credit pulled and which type of pull that they're actually doing.
Now, I know keeping high balances on your credit, on someone's credit card, can impact the score.
Yep.
Can you speak about that and let people know what they should be aware of?
Absolutely. Credit cards make up the biggest chunk of your credit scoring algorithm. That's why it's so important to know the tricks of the trade when it comes to your credit card. So we always say you want to have at least 2 to 3 open revolving lines. Your revolving lines are basically credit cards. And the sweet spot to keep those card balances are anywhere from like the best you can get is like 5 to 10%. The highest you want to go is 30%. That's where you're actually going to gain points from using them. It's a tricky game, but in order to gain points, you have to use them responsibly. So if you pay your credit card off every month, it's going to look like you're not using it and you're not really going to gain any points from it. So if you carry really small balances, that shows responsible use of your credit cards. Now, when you're maintaining your credit and you're not applying for things, you can absolutely pay it off or keep higher balances. But when you're really trying to maximize your score, that's where you want to keep it, is anywhere from like 5 to 10 is the best. 30% is where we usually say like that's the max that you want to keep them at.
And do you see an immediate effect?
Yep.
So if I do that for this a month, going into the next month, I'll see a bump in my score?
100%. When those cards report with that updated balance, now remember, unless a loan officer is doing a rapid rescore, you can only update your balances once a month, and each credit card company has a specific date that they report to the credit bureaus. You will see an instant result. If we look at a credit report and their balances are at 80% and they pay it down to like 20, I mean, you're going to see a huge boost in the scores.
Gotcha. Okay. What's the best way for a young adult or a foreigner to build their credit up pretty quickly?
Best way is what we just talked about, which are credit cards. That, like I said, they make up a huge chunk of the credit scoring algorithm. If you look at it, 30% or 35% is your balance to limit, and then the other part is your payment history. So you want to keep credit cards open, you want to pay them off, keep small balances and no late payments. That's the best way to increase scores. Now, one little trick of the trade is if you have a parent that has a card that's been open for a long time, really good payment history, you can actually be added as an authorized user, and that's a really great way for parents to help build their kids' credit scores before they even need it. Add them as an authorized user, and you're going to gain all that payment history, and you're going to walk in, opening up your own credit card when that does come time, having a great score.
I want to go through some common issues that we'll see, and I'm going to ask you for your advice on what clients can do. So someone misses a credit card payment. Let's say it's 30 days late. It could be 60 days late. What do they do?
Okay, so the best thing you want to do, hopefully it's a card that you've never been late on. You want to pick up the phone and call that credit card company and beg and plead in the nicest way possible for them to remove that late payment for you. I will say late payments are typically really hard to remove, but the best way is just to call that credit card company, ask for forgiveness, and see if they're going to remove it for you. If they won't, you can always come to My Credit Guy. We will try to remove it for you, but again, it's never a AI guarantee. Those are really hard to remove. So my best piece of advice, set up auto pay. That's the best way to avoid those late payments. Even if it's your minimum payment, just have that automatically set up so you don't incur those late payments.
Next thing, if someone has a collection on their account, what should they do?
So it's really important to look at a collection and pay attention to a few different things. If you have one and it just hit your credit report, it's fresh, the date of last activity, which on your credit report is categorized as DLA, that's the last time that a payment was made. If it's really, really recent, you can pay it off even if they won't remove it because it is so recent. But any collection, whenever you're negotiating with a company, always push for a deletion with a payment. That's the best way to spend your money, because if they remove it for you, it's like it never happened. It'll be completely taken off of your credit report. And it's like I said, it's like it never happened. Now that's where my credit guy can come in if there's processes and things to follow. If you need help with that, that's where we can come in and really help you with those collections. But it's just always important before you pay it, try to negotiate that pay for deletion.
The big one, what if someone has a missed loan payment or a missed lease payment? What should they do?
Same thing as the credit card company. Unfortunately, like the only thing that you can typically do is kind of call them and beg to have it removed from your credit report. Unfortunately, those hit your score and we see them drop scores anywhere from 60 to 70 points. So they do, your credit score is going to take a big hit if you do have a late payment. So again, best way to avoid that is set up an auto payment. And if you do get them and there's nothing you can do about it, again, we can try, but a lot of times you just kind of you have to let time heal those late payments.
Okay. How do you advise someone to stay up to date on their own credit scores, and how often should they be checking?
So, like I mentioned before, credit monitoring is the best way to keep track of your scores and see anything new that might pop up. There are a lot of different ones. You can go with a free Credit Karma if money's tight. That'll at least help you keep up to date on if anything new is going to pop up on your credit report. Otherwise, there are paid services. Here at My Credit Guy, we use Identity IQ. I mentioned My FICO. That's one of the better ones. It's the closest you're going to get to your actual FICO score. But that's the best way to keep track of things. Now, with credit monitoring, you can only refresh it typically every 30 days for no extra charge. If you do want to refresh it and you paid something off or you think something's fallen off, there's usually an extra cost associated with that. But for most people, when you're just keeping an eye on things, you can sign up for some sort of credit monitoring account. And like I said, there are a lot of options out there, but that's the best way to keep up on what's on your credit report.
Gotcha. This is super, super helpful. Any other words of advice or tips that you can offer?
Yeah, again, setting up auto payments, because we can help with collections and charge-offs and those derogatories that pop up. But like I said, late payments, they're so difficult. So if you can set up auto payment on anything, that's going to set you up the best way. And just really keep an eye on things and know that you do have a little bit of negotiating power if negative things pop up. You don't just want to pay something off and not try to get a benefit from it. So again, that's where our team can come in. This is what we do all day, every day. We kind of help navigate, like, here's what's impacting your score the most. Here's what you should just leave alone. So, and we're always here for any questions. And again, if we can't help you out, we'll give you that advice and let you know where to go from there.
Okay. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we are, people can reach me directly. My email is Ashley, ASHLEY, at mycreditguy.com. My direct line is 319-214-9742. You can also call into our main line. We have offices both in Arizona and Iowa. And yeah, you can check us out on our website, mycreditguy.com. We have Facebook pages. You guys can see reviews from all of our customers. We pride ourselves. I think we have like a 4.9 star rating on our Facebook page. So our goal is to help clients. We just want to get them to that home buying process. Our logo is, or our slogan is, giving people, changing lives by giving second chances. So we really want to help people achieve that that dream of home ownership.
Gotcha. Ashley, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll certainly talk soon.
Thanks so much.